2016 Jaguar Samola Hill Climb, sponsored by Jaguar, the art of performance. A wonderful array of racing machines turned out for the 7th annual hill climb. More than 13,000 spectators were treated to a weekend of sweet sounds, of car engines, walks in the pits and intense competition in the historics, supercars and King of the Hill. The 2015 winners, Charles Arton in the Classic Conqueror and Desi Goodsight in the King of the Hill, a distant memory in an event that is fast becoming the premier event on the South African motor racing calendar. In the month of May, this tranquil and picturesque area of Knysna, in the middle of the garden route and alongside the Indian Ocean, welcomes motor enthusiasts, the drivers and their cars. Thursday morning started bright and early at the old railway station, adjacent to the Knysna waterfront, for the customary scrutineering of the historic cars.
From scrutineering, we're looking at things all on the safety side. So we're checking safety belts, we're checking anything loose in the car, like a battery or anything that could hurt the driver if you rolled the car. We're just checking that the brakes are all working and that everything's from a safety point of view, roll cages, anything like that. We'll usually start on the front of the car, we'll go through the engine bay, check for any loose, anything that's not supposed to be there, make sure that your oil filter and stuff is wired. Then we'll go around the car and just check that the wheel nuts and all that are tightened and all correct. From then on, we'll go to inside the car, make sure the seat is mounted correctly, check the safety belts, check the roll bar while you're in the car, to walk around the car and then just put the sticker on it, sign it off.
Since the 2015 event, the road alongside the Samola Golf Course has received some attention. 2 areas of the road were resurfaced due to the bumps and slight deterioration caused by local traffic and heavy vehicles that use the road during the year. Cool and damp conditions on Friday morning greeted the competitors as they gathered for the driver's briefing from clerk of the course, Sparky Bright. Friday consisted of 3 practices followed by 3 qualifying rounds to determine the class finals and the top 10 for the Classic Conqueror shootout. 57 cars in 8 classes competed this year. Unfortunately, 2015 champion Charles Arton had to withdraw his March 79B Formula Atlantic single-seater after blowing 2 engines in the week prior to the event. Flagging the drivers off was the Grand Marshal Ian Schechter, a former multiple single-seater race car champion. Born in East London in 1947, Schechter had a brief career in Formula One from 1974 to 1977, but scored no championship points. Ian is the elder brother of 1979 Formula One champion Jody Schechter. A very important element of the event is its support and fundraising for 5 nominated charities. The Knysna Sedgefield Hospice benefits from the support of the Hill Climb's ladies team.
My dad built the car. It was his dream car to race, and it was his baby. He built it from scratch. It's a Fiat Alba 1000 TCR replica. He raced it in the Legends of the 9 Hours at Swartkops and Kyalami. And he did very well, and then unfortunately passed away due to cancer. And I now got the opportunity to do that, and I always said I wanted to do something good with it if I got the opportunity. And we're actually supporting our local hospice doing this. We've got the Hill Climb ladies team doing that.
Di Dugmore is another member of the Hill Climb ladies team and has competed in all 7 Samola Hill Climbs.
I'm part of the Historic Single Seat Association. We have about 4 or 5 races that we make throughout the country, and it's usually in my historic Lotus 11. And other than that, 2 or 3 club events, so not a lot of racing, but we could have one a month if we wanted it.
Also part of the ladies team was Donnie Lamola, who was very happy with her 1972 Formula 4 Dulong.
This is Mr. Stewart's car. I borrowed this car for this race, this historic race, Hill Climb, and it's going well. It's a Kent car. It's also going well. It's a bit of it feels like a karting car, but it's got speed like nothing else.
I'm I'm driving my little Sport this year. I drove it last year as well, and I finished third on the podium with my dad in first. This year they've moved us out of classes, so I'm not with them anymore, but we've got the car perfect at the moment. The handling on the track is amazing, so I'm hoping to do really well this year in my class.
Page's class final qualification time was a 58.782. But the women were up against some seasoned drivers, all vying for a place in the Classic Conqueror, including Josh Dovey in his 1964 Lotus Elan.
There's no room for a mistake here. If you make one mistake, your run's ruined. So it's all about precision, tidiness, and keeping it on the track. The car weighs 600 kilograms. And the motor's putting out about 170 brake horsepower, so it's a beautiful little machine. Light, perfect for this kind of thing, actually.
A well-known face who was making his debut in the historics was multiple SA Rally champion Enzo Kuhn.
I never thought I'd be seen in a Datsun, I had a friend and we had a chat, and he had this car and we said, listen, why don't you drive it up the hill? And I took the offer, and I'm very impressed. I mean, it's a Datsun 240Z, not many of them around. And I think in many ways in those days it was the Porsche 911 of Japan. So privileged to drive the car, and it's very comfortable. I mean, you could drive it to Cape Town.
Guys like Enzo Kuhn, Graham Nathan, if you look at, I would never be able to put next to or even race with these guys, and that's what makes this event so special. It's tremendous. It really is great that a guy with not so much experience can race with some of the big guns and the big guys. So yeah, I'm having a blast. I had two good qualifying runs. I placed second. I don't know how long I'll stay in second. But yeah, we'll give it a bash.
2014 Classic Conqueror champion Franco Scribante was lucky to be competing at Samola.
Yeah, I had a major accident where I broke both my legs. I rode a Mustang off, and I'm just glad to still be here. And unfortunately, it's not mending, so I'm in a bit of pain today. But I mean, in about a month's time, I'll go for a hip replacement, and they told me after that it'll be good. So we'll be back on form. Not that we're not already, because my guys have prepared a brilliant car as usual. So it's not holding us back at this stage of the game.
Despite the wet conditions, Franco was clearly happy with his times.
I am happy, you can't tell down here because it's a normal day, but from the bridge up, it's totally wet. It's like the water's running down the track, coming out the ground, so it's almost a full wet setup. So it's actually quite hairy. So at this stage of the game, I don't really care what the times are, as long as I'm in front of everybody else.
The inclement weather did not keep the crowds away, with a good turnout to watch the class finals. Surprisingly, a uniquely African occurrence. Baboons on the road interrupted the start of the class finals. After some gentle coaxing by the marshals, the baboons moved on and the historic cars were back in action. Each driver's best qualifying time for the day had determined their class positions, with the top three progressing to the class finals and ultimately their podium positions. Rodney Green, who has competed in all 7 hill climbs, took the honours in Class H1 for pre-war cars. The weather had improved and the course drying out allowed the drivers to feel a little more comfortable with the surface of the track, putting in some quicker times. Josh Dovey in his 1964 Lotus Elan S2 won Class H2 for pre-1966 road cars. The pre-1975 category, H3, was won by Brent Watts in his 1973 Porsche 911 RSR. Pierre Rousseau led Class H4 in a 1957 Austin Healey Sprite Mark I for pre-1966 single-seaters and sports cars. Class H5 for pre-1980 race cars was a formality for Franco Scribante with an exceptionally quick time of 41.601 seconds. Robert Rowe emerged victorious in his 1976 BMW Turbo in Class H6 for pre-1980 saloon cars with 4 cylinders. Enzo Kuhn driving a Datsun 240Z, and in his first foray into Classic Car Friday, took Class H7 for pre-1980 saloon cars with rotary 6 and 8 cylinders. And Richard Evans won Class H8 for recreated cars conforming to the original's silhouette but using modern running gear. The top 10 quickest from the qualifiers took to the hill for one last run. There was heartbreak for Ian Schofield and Graham Nathan, who were forced to withdraw due to clutch failures. This promoted Donny Lamola and Dirk Venter into the starting lineup. Jan Vosloo in his 1973 Porsche 911 RS first out and set a time of 55.102, but would eventually settle for 9th place.
Richard Evans in
Peter Lindenberg in the thundering 1968 Ford Fairlane V8 improved his qualifying time by almost a full second with 52.395 seconds and edged into the top position ahead of Jan Vosloo. Donny set her fastest time of the day with a run of 53.854 seconds to put herself in second position. Dirk Venter in his 1972 Ford Capri Piranha had a slow start, but could not better Donny Lamola's time and would end up in 10th place with a final time of 55.348 seconds. Brits in his 1967 Porsche 911R raced up the hill in 52.686 seconds, putting him into second spot behind Peter Lindenberg with 6 cars still to run. Josh Dovey with his best time of the day, 50.284 seconds in the 1964 Lotus Elan S2, pushed Peter Lindenberg back into second place with 4 cars to run.
This is car number 6. This is
Clive Corder in the V8 Lola sports racing car took a few hundredths of a second off Josh Dovey's time and dipped under 50 seconds and took over first place with Enzo Kuhn, Brent Watts and Franco Scribante still to race. Were coming down, and rally ace Enzo Kuhn in the 1972 Datsun 240Z failed by a few hundredths of a second to dislodge Clive Corder from the top position and squeezed into second position. Brent Watts and Franco Scribante still to run.
That is much faster than his qualifying time. That's a very good time. Well done.
Brent Watts, who is really enjoying his Classic Car Friday, surged into first place with a run of 48.204 seconds, with Corder and Kuhn dropping to second and third. The crowd now turned their attention to Franco Scribante and his powerful 1970 Chevron B19. Last up the hill, but first in the standings with a mesmerizing average speed of 165 kilometers an hour. And this win confirmed him as the first ever double winner of the Classic Conqueror. Franco Scribante set an all-new Classic Car Friday course record of 41.432 seconds, beating his own fastest winning time from 2 years ago of 41.811 seconds.
That was great. That's the fastest we've been. Well, fastest we've been up in the Conqueror. So it's good for us. That's a new lap record in this event. Yeah. So I've got the dream team. Corbus is in charge. They've worked many late nights. Thanks to him, Eugene, Eddie, Marco. Yeah, 100%.
Rodney Green, the Class H1 winner, was also awarded the inaugural Classic Car Friday Spirit of Dave Charlton Award, a floating trophy that 6 times SA single-seater champion Charlton had won at the last Formula One event held in Zimbabwe. After the eventful and very exciting Classic Conqueror, it was the turn of the King of the Hill contenders to take to the hill on Saturday. It was another cold and wet morning as the drivers attended the drivers' briefing. The spectators were not bothered by the overnight rain and streamed into Samola to watch the big guns in action. Desi Goodsight, last year's winner, was facing some stiff competition from the single-seater brigade, which included a 1989 Formula One Dallara driven by Andre Bezuidenhout.
You know, Formula Ones are made for racetracks which are very smooth. The suspension travel is very limited. So yeah, we're driving on a public road. It's got a lot of bumps, so we softened the car as far as possible. The difficulty is when you drive it at speed, the feedback that it gives me is it's getting loose, and it's not getting loose. It's just making movements that are a little bit different to what the car was designed for.
Many of the race spec cars completed their first runs on full wet or semi-slick tyres, while the drivers competing in standard cars had to make the most of their conventional road tyres. Battling it out in the Jaguar media competition were 5 of the motoring press, who earned the right to drive a Jaguar XER Sport after qualifying in a karting event.
Look, I think that the car's limits are higher than mine at the moment. I'm still learning the track. I'm still trying to figure out what the surface is like. So I'm going really slow. There's definitely more time in the car because the other guys are a bit quicker than me at the moment. So I think the car's better than I'm driving at the moment, but it's still early days, only second practice done, and I don't know the course yet. So I'm kind of taking it easy. It's not mine either.
Tom Faulkner from the Sunday Times, who races a Ford Mustang in historics, thrives on the competition of the hill climb.
Everybody comes here and everyone's like, yeah, guys, it's about fun and enjoying the day, but it's never like that. It's like a serious grudge match, and everybody wants to win it.
The winner in the media competition returns to race again in 2017.
You get to come back next year, get quite a cool floating trophy, and then, of course, you get bragging rights, which are priceless.
Tom unfortunately finished second to Ashley Oldfield in the Jaguar Media Challenge. The Stormers rugby players were enjoying a very welcome bye from their 2016 Super Rugby campaign and were soaking up the atmosphere in the pits.
Yeah, I think it was a great experience going up the Samola hill climb here. It's my first time here, and just seeing all the cars here, it's amazing, and it's something I enjoy a lot. It's a hobby for me. But the driver and the car just handled amazing up the hill. I'm quite impressed with it.
Getting his first taste of the Jaguar Samola hill climb was multiple single-seater champion Robert Walk in the 3.5-litre Formula Renault.
Yeah, I think we've got a bit of time to find, especially through the turn 2 and 3, I think. Unfortunately, through the starts, we obviously have a hand clutch, so it's a bit more difficult. There's no traction control, it's all on feel. The rest are just bolting it, so we're losing a bit of time there. I could find a bit. But yeah, I think through the quicker stuff is where we'll find it. I think we lose a bit of the start, but find it through the rest of the track. So find a bit of the start to maybe turn 1 and 2, we could be in there.
Darren Goodmans in his Nissan GTR was another driver showing his intent to challenge for the shootout with a new team.
Kind of simply, the racing has got so intense and so financially impacting on everybody's lives, and Craig offered to take my car in last year into his racing team. He now prepares it for me. Got a great bunch of guys working in the car, so yeah, all that's really changed is the colour and maybe 1 or 2 horsepower.
Craig Zank, whose team was looking after Darren Goodman's car, was not having as good a Saturday as he would have liked in his Nissan Nismo GTR.
With the rain this morning, we tried to put too much horsepower through the clutches, and the clutch basket exploded to the front wheels because it runs 2 different setups. It goes from the rear to the front. And unfortunately, I've now got a 2-wheel drive Skyline, and the amount of horsepower we got in the car, it's just too dangerous to go up there. So it's pretty much beach for the rest of the weekend.
Davy Olivier, driving a standard Jaguar F-Type R Coupe, explains his passion for racing.
Yeah, I'm basically as old as motorsport itself probably, because I started in '92. But of late I was involved with Subaru with the national production cars. And after that I joined Jaguar Land Rover, and that's why I'm driving the F-Type, and I'm very fortunate to do that. With the F-Type, we broke the South African land speed record last year with standard production cars.
And that record still stands today. The eye-catching Alfa Romeo was the subject of an insert for the television show RPM.
Well, it's an Alfa 4C, obviously standard production car, mid-engine rear-wheel drive, 1750cc turbocharged engine. And the thing about this car is the carbon fiber tub. So it's very light, 930 kgs, great power-to-weight ratio, and a superb car for this kind of event, for a hill climb.
During the lunch break, there was a spectacular reveal of Jaguar's first ever SUV, the F-Pace. Carrying the SUV on a custom vehicle platform on cables was a Sikorsky S-16N helicopter 300 meters above the spectators. Lisa Mallett explains the reason for the launch.
a month and a bit ago, we thought, what better way to then reveal Jaguar's first performance SUV than at South Africa's premier motorsport event. So it was a perfect opportunity, and we figured, well, why not bring it in a helicopter, and then why not involve South Africa's Hollywood actor Sholto Copley in the whole reveal as well. So I think very impressive reveal. Everything I've heard people say, very positive, and the car speaks for itself. So it went down really well.
South African-born actor, producer and director Sholto Copley, in amongst all the obvious media attention, certainly had a good time at the hill climb. After the lunch break, the track had dried for the 5th and last practice round, and Franco Scribante set the early pace, breaking the 40-second barrier with a blistering time of 39.578 seconds at an average speed of 172.82 kilometers an hour. Although only qualifying and final runs counted as official times, it certainly made the other drivers sit up and take notice. The first qualifying round saw plenty of action as Mohammed Dangor in a Nissan GTR R34 went off the track at high speed. Stephen Olofse, the spectator in the crowd, was on hand with his cell phone to record the Dangor drift. Dangor, in the process, left a trail of oil along the top section of the hill, which put a temporary stop to the session for more than half an hour. The dedicated hill climb volunteer marshals kicked into action in an effort to clean up the oil, which undoubtedly was the undoing of local doctor Mike Verrier.
I run a Formula Volkswagen, which is a single-seated car, 2-litre engine and a sequential gearbox. We were doing nicely. First time we've ever run it here, and most of the runs today we were in fourth place. So I was quite happy with everything, and now we went up and we were actually on a really good run. And I was quickest for myself through the first 3 corners, and then just hit this patch of oil, which was a remnant from a previous car, and unfortunately I couldn't control the back end of the car.
Fortunately, Mike Verrier emerged uninjured, while his car was decidedly worse for wear, putting a premature end to his King of the Hill aspirations. But let's take a ride up the hill with Enzo Kuhn in his Ford Mustang.
Right, well, that's us at the start line. This is where you really need to get your timing right and make sure you limit the wheel spin. These cars are 2-wheel drive, so you want to really be light on the throttle. We're going up to 2nd gear already, and now the speed really picks up. 3rd gear into this little chicane here, and the first real corner. Up the hill, foot flat, and now we're going to 4th gear. You can see a bit of damp on the road. Hard braking just before the brake marker there, and the dark tarmac, and tight left hand into 3rd gear, carrying about 120-140 kilometers an hour. Yeah, this is the easy part. You relax here, breathe a bit, and keep changing up. 4th gear and 5th gear. Slight lift there, no braking really, but we try and hug the corner without cutting the tires. You can see the car sliding there, coming out of the corner on the wet, so light on the throttle. And then this is the most difficult corner. Right-hander, flat out, high speed, 200 k's an hour, and the car steps out slightly over the finish line. That's us, 40 seconds gone.
Sure, what a drive. Happy spectators were looking forward to the final day, as busy pit crews were wondering whether Scribante had an ace up his sleeve for Sunday.
Have you ever noticed how some people in life seem to get away with everything? We live our lives from an elevated perspective.
You're late.
Time is a relative concept.
Well, I see you have mastered the laws of gravity.
We are the masters of time and space.
And we all drive Jaguars.
The all-new Jaguar F-Pace.
Sunday morning dawned bright and sunny, and a cheerful, expectant atmosphere prevailed at the last drivers' briefing for the 2016 Jaguar Samola Hill Climb. It's finals day, and the prospect of quicker times on a dry track added to the tension in the pits. Ian Schechter, however, was soaking up the atmosphere, enjoying his role as the Grand Marshal and looking ahead to a possible 1-2-3 in the King of the Hill shootouts.
I think it's going to change. It's always been the saloon cars that have been on top. Des Goodside, who won it last year with a very good time. He's been hiding a little bit, I think. But the Formula 3.5 Renault, Audrey Mercedes, it's getting quicker in his Formula 1 car. And then, of course, Franco in that fantastic Chevron. It's a 73 model Chevron, one that I raced with John Watson in 1973. But he's put a real good engine in it and a fantastic gearbox, launch control. So I think between the three single-seater cars, they should come out on top.
Desi Goodside was quietly watching the single-seaters and going about his preparation to qualify for the shootouts.
Yeah, this is the car that we've used a number of years. As you know, we won the hill climb last year. We've done a little bit more work to the car on the aero section and slightly more horsepower. But yesterday we battled a little bit with the rain and the weather and so on, and the car's strong and it's going well. So I think we'll see what happens for the day. But I have some challenges here, and I think everybody's got a few challenges. But it's a lovely day and the car's going well.
Desi clocked a very quick 40.9 seconds in the last qualifier, but son Shane was having troubles of his own.
Yeah, Scott, we started off slowly yesterday and nursed the car, and then when we started pushing the boost and trying to ask more of the car, this clutch started slipping. So pulled the transmission out last night, worked late, put new clutches in, and did one run this morning just to nurse it in. It seems fine, so we'll see how it goes.
One driver who was fortunate to be at the hill climb was Stuka Mechanikos in his beautifully turned out V8 AMG Mercedes-Benz.
At our last run at Sodkorps, a little too much gas, and I'd moved that wall a bit, so I damaged a lot of this front left. So that was a little unexpected and unpleasant, but it turned out to be a good thing, which caused us to do other mods which had to be done, and now we had a timeline. So yeah, it was unpleasant, so I smacked it all properly on the front left.
Tell me a little bit about the engine itself.
The engine itself is a stock standard AMG 5.5 M113 motor. So the motor is straight out of AMG. The internals are stock standard, built as normally aspirated. We've put Monster Turbo to add it on top of that, but there are no extra cams. Everything is stock AMG block with a Monster Turbo. So the motor is bulletproof. We didn't drop compression. It really is a bulletproof motor that clearly can take a smashing.
79-year-old Jeff Mortimer only managed 2 qualifying sessions in the morning before an electrical fault in his modified Mitsubishi Lancer Evo 9 put an end to his day, but he still enjoyed the experience.
I don't know, I was attracted, I think, for the first time in 2010 when I drove a similar car, just because my long-time friend, teammate, and sometimes enemy, Mr. Sarov van der Merwe, had won it the year before. So I said, well, let me see if I can go and beat him the next year. Well, he never pitched up, but I won the hill climb.
After having set a best time of 38.8 seconds in Q3, Scribante had a suspension problem during the 4th qualifying session, leading to some evasive action by the marshal.
We're not quite sure what went wrong. We had a new set of tyres and rims on, and I think one of the rims didn't seat quite properly. So when I hit the bridge on the top, just before it hit the brakes, I felt the car pull violently to one side, and then that was it. I mean, before you knew it, I was on top of the bank. So lucky to get away with that, and also we sort of floated up the bank as opposed to hit the bank. So the damage wasn't as bad as it looked, and my guys managed to get the car fixed. So we went out now. Obviously I was a bit shaky myself, so just got to calm down now, and then we'll put the hammer down now.
Luckily, only minor damage and a great team effort had Scribante back on the track for the 6th and final qualifying run. Anton Grenier, another driver posting some good times in his 2.5-litre Subaru WRX, had a little scare before the class finals.
They said somebody clipped the tyre and the tyre was in the road and I didn't see it. So I bumped the tyre on the left. That caused the intercooler to break. Oh, not the oil cooler. So the pipe just cracked the oil cooler, so now they joined the two pipes. So for short runs like this, it's fine. So we don't need the oil cooler. So we're on a tight schedule here, so I'm a bit stressed at the moment, but we should be in time, yes.
On a tough final Sunday, a number of women drivers were still in contention in their respective class. Both Donnie Lamola and Paige Lindenberg had taken the step up from the historics on Friday, as well as Claire Vale competing in her Subaru 2-litre BRZ.
It's my first time here this weekend. I've never been up the hill before, and we've gone quicker in every session, so I'm not unhappy. We're also running on Conti road tyres. So, being up against all the cars on 6, that makes quite a big difference. So I'm pretty happy. We're having a lot of fun. The little car's going like a star. We're heading towards 50 now. So hopefully with a couple more runs, we'll get there.
Yes, it is. There's more power on this Formula 1600 EcoBoost that I'm driving this weekend. And I have to say my times have improved slowly, but I'm doing well. I'm happy with my times this year compared to last year.
Paige Lindenberg, now moving up into the King of the Hill class in a Ford Shelby Super Snake, was second in her class on Classic Car Friday in her Ford Escort, and we asked her which car she preferred.
So many people have asked me this question, and it's a difficult one because my classic car is my baby. I've grown up with that little thing and we've got it so perfect at the moment. But I think I'm preferring today and yesterday with the Mustang because it's a challenge. I'm used to the Escort, the handling's perfect, I've got that car spot on. So it's not as much of a challenge anymore. This car I get in, I still get butterflies, I still have to learn the car, know what to do. I only really drove it for the first time yesterday. So I'm still getting used to gears, pull-offs, and it's, I go from a 1600 in the Escort on Friday to a V8 supercharged on a Saturday. It's quite a jump, so I think I'm preferring the Mustang just because it's a challenge.
Some very unique trophies are presented to the winners of the various categories, and Johan Nell, a local wood craftsman, is tasked with producing trophies for the event.
Ian Shosby from the Hill Climb came to me and asked me to design and make the trophies according to things they would like a steering wheel and a helmet and the gear lever. And I was actually open to do whatever I want, and came up with the ideas and made some samples, and they were very happy with them.
What sort of woods do you use to make up these trophies?
Okay, they're all indigenous woods to Southern Africa. It's stinkwood, hardpear, forest alder and African blackwood. It takes us about 6 weeks non-stop to make 76 trophies.
After 5 practice and 6 qualifying sessions packed with action and incidents, not to mention the inclement weather and a bit of oil on the course, the hunt for titles and trophies moved to the final afternoon of the Jaguar Samola Hill Climb, starting with the class finals. First to take to the hill was Class A1 for standard 4-cylinder cars, won by Pierre Bester. Class A2 was for 4-cylinder road-going cars, front, rear or 4-wheel drive. Jackie Schechter in a Nissan GTR won Class A4 for 6-cylinder and rotary road-going cars. Class A5 for naturally aspirated 4-cylinder models had only one entry, Christopher Simons in his Honda Civic. Class A6 for 6-cylinder normally aspirated road-going cars was won by Feroz Ibrahim in his Porsche 997 GT3. Class A7 was the playground of the exotics for the naturally aspirated 8-cylinder and above supercars. Turbocharged and supercharged sports cars were grouped in Class A8. New to the class finals this year was A9 for hybrid cars, won by Robert Gearing. B1 catered for 4-cylinder racing cars, turbocharged, nitrous oxide system and supercharged. The B2 class was the domain of the Nissan GTRs, 6-cylinder turbocharged, NOS and supercharged racing cars. Class B3 was the hunting ground for turbo and supercharged 8-cylinder racing cars. Class B4 for 4-cylinder naturally aspirated racing cars was won by Johan van Rensburg in his VW Polo. Class B5 for 6-cylinder and rotary naturally aspirated racing cars was won by Alan Irwin. Class B6 was an all-Ford battle with Enzo Kuhn in his V8 Masters Mustang taking the honours. C1 saw Mike Beachyhead win uncontested in the class for 8-cylinder and above turbocharged, NOS and supercharged sports racing cars. Ben Pinar in his Formula V Rima was the only entry in Class C2. Class C3 for open-top and open-fender 4-cylinder naturally aspirated racing cars was won by Arnold Klimke. Donnie Lamola, driving her Mygale Ford, won Class C4 for 6-cylinder and rotary naturally aspirated single-seater racing cars. The only other contender, Robert Wolk, in his V6 Formula Renault, clipped a tyre on the inside of Turn 2 and crashed heavily into the tyre barrier. He was unhurt, but the accident put an abrupt end to his bid to win the King of the Hill shootouts. Franco Scribante in his Chevron B26 was the lone entry in Class C5 for 8-cylinder and above naturally aspirated racing cars. Describing all the action on the PA system was the voice of motorsport in South Africa, Roger McCleary, who has had a long and distinguished career in broadcasting.
And initially it was down at Killarney in 1969, a bit before your time. It was Mike Hayward arrived on a Honda 6, and the commentator down, he was very good, was Peter Lawley. And he went to go and have an early morning toot. And I said, what are you doing? You've got a Honda Works rider, a world champ on a Honda 6. He says, I don't know anything about it. If you want to do it, go and talk. And that's how it all started at Killarney. And what an opportunity. They got a world champion on a Works Honda 6. And it went from there, we went to Kyle Army, and you had to serve your apprenticeship at Kyle Army. You didn't pronounce things wrong. And eventually got into the main tower. And then when you started the telly, when you all got going in 76, you used to get calls from Kim Shippey to tell you to pronounce words wrong. It was, I mean, the quality was good. I mean, it was really, the days that you were producing it all, it was brilliant. And it just continued from there on circuits and doing all events and motocross and all the things. And it's just been a passion all my life.
Supercar shootout competitors for showroom specification sports and supercars had to nominate before the event that they would compete in this category, making them ineligible for the main shootout. Of the 10 starters, Ernst de Preer in a McLaren 650S took third place, and Davy Olivier, driving the elegant Jaguar F-Type R Coupe, finished second. But it was Jackie Schechter's afternoon, showing his exceptional driving skills in the factory-backed Nissan GTR. He set the fastest time of 43.591 seconds to win the supercar shootout, and he could not have been happier.
The last one was fantastic. The car launched beautifully, and the car handled so well, gave me confidence that I was able to just attack, be smooth, and enjoy the drive up. The GTR was fantastic the whole weekend, and really am very grateful for the support from Nissan South Africa, and my family and my friends, and for their support. And it's hard for me to describe how I'm feeling right now, but it's overwhelming and very special. So thank you guys.
Whilst last-minute preparations were underway for the King of the Hill shootout, Gasoline Alley, just a few hundred meters from the start, was in full swing. A variety of 32 stalls were kept busy all 3 days, offering food and drink, motorsport memorabilia and auto accessories, adding to the attraction of the Jaguar Samola Hill Climb experience. And so, to the shootout. Missing were Andre Bezuidenhout with a failed engine crankshaft sensor, Robert Wolk due to his crash in the class final, both of whom had dipped under 40 seconds, and Mortimer with an electrical fault. This promoted Mike Beachyhead, Enzo Kuhn and Edrich Sveers into the shootout. The drivers started in reverse order of qualification. First up was Mike Beachy Head in his Porsche 917 replica, his time at 45.084. Enzo Kuhn in the Ford Mustang could not better Mike Beachy Head's time and would finish in 8th place with a time of 45.452. Edrix Veers put up a quick time of 43.894 in his Nissan GTR R35 with some quicker drivers still to run.
For the first hill club, next to
Shane Goodside did well to make the shootout after his early problems in his Mitsubishi Evo 7, but posted a 46.094, which eventually put him in 9th position. Dwayne Galloway had been running quickly all weekend and put up another fast time in his Nissan GTR R32 of 43.716 to take him to pole position ahead of Edrix Veers.
Serious stuff.
2011 champion Wilhelm Barth in his Nissan GTR swept into the lead with a 42.745 ahead of Dwayne Galloway and Edrix Veers, both driving Nissan GTRs. Still 4 drivers waiting at the start for their last run. Anton Grenier was not without his troubles this weekend, but when it mattered most, he took his Subaru WRX a shade quicker than Wilhelm Barth in a time of 42.564. Darren Goodmans in his Nissan GTR and his Craig Zank-backed team went for broke in order to try and finish in the top 3, but by turn 1, his race was over. Too much wheel spin off the line and he broke a prop shaft.
Right, here's the spectacle.
This left arguably the 2 quickest men on the hill to fight it out for the win. Des Goodzeit, last year's champion, put everything into his run and came so close to breaking the 40-second barrier in his Nissan GTR R32 with a time of 40.324. First place ahead of Anton Grenier and waiting for the last run of Franco Scribante to determine who would win the King of the Hill trophy. Franco Scribante, too quick, too good, and a new hill climb record of 38.646 in his V8-powered Chevron B29. Family, friends and pit crew echoed what Franco must have been feeling as he drove back down the hill, side by side with Desi Goodzeit, last year's champion. It was a roller coaster weekend, but in the end, talent, hard work and an amazing team propelled Franco to an incredible victory in the King of the Hill shootouts.
Look, that Roslan, I have to start off with saying what happened before. As you know, I crashed the car very badly. And then I had one run, I was a bit on the edge, sort of very nervous and it felt quite skittish. And, you know, it was when Des went out and did that 40, I thought, this track's gone slower. I don't even know if I'm going to be able to do a 40. And it was just, I just said, look, it's going to happen. I'm not coming second. This is do or die stuff. It's going to be in the bush. It's going to be on the podium, #1 place. And that's basically what happened. We got it together, a great lap. I want to thank my guys, Kubus, Eddie, Plitter, Eugene, Marco on the engines, and even Kubus jumped in today to help fix the car. I mean, my guys did a spectacular job. The car is fast. That's a lap record just about, you know, and a crashed car. It's unbelievable. I mean, the work they've done for me, I just want to say thank you to them very much.
A new hill climb record for Franco Scribante and repeating the double of winning the Classic Car Friday and King of the Hill as he did in 2014. The Spirit of Dave Charlton Floating Trophy was awarded to Jeff Mortimer. The special award recognizes the person that reflects Dave Charlton's spirit of impeccable attention to detail, meticulous preparation and commendable performance. Franco Scribante became the first ever recipient of the Jody, a special handcrafted wooden trophy introduced this year and inspired by South Africa's only Formula One world champion, Jody Scheckter. The 2016 edition of the Jaguar Samola Hill Climb certainly lived up to its billing as the premier motorsport event of the year. The 2016 Jaguar Samola Hill Climb, sponsored by Jaguar, the art of performance.